It's Monday, November 13th, 2023. My name is Terry Morgan. We are here to practice fundamentals. We talk a little bit about this idea that I've been talking about, the idea of what we keep. So as we're practicing, as we develop what we're doing, as we develop the art, develop the skill that we want to keep, what is it that we do keep? When you look around your room, what do you keep? What have you collected? What did you retain? So I'm going to put this down because we're going to get started. And I need to adjust the camera just a little bit. A little more floor space. Okay, so when you look around your room, what do you have that you've acquired, that you kept? What kinds of things do you keep? Do you keep photos of your family? Photos of your travels? Books? I got books, photos of travels. I got photos of family in other places. Pictures, things that you've been given. There's collectibles back here, the Four Seasons. Bought them in Suzhou in 1995. Yeah. Been a while. I kept them. It was one of those things that I wanted to keep. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to talk about this because I'm going to use it as a really great example. Each of these paintings rolls up, right? Traditional Chinese paintings. They roll up and fit in a nice small box. About like this. They stack right in there. When they're unrolled, they take up the whole wall. I have some other Chinese paintings that are like that. They just take up the whole wall. That concept was not something that I grew up with. Four Seasons, they have meaning. This array back here has quite a bit of meaning that belongs to both what I'm teaching and to the culture. That knowledge, I had to learn it. There are children, little children, in China today who don't know the significance of these paintings. They don't. They're children, they haven't learned yet. They haven't had time to learn it. That sense of, well, I've learned this, but you haven't, is part of what I've looked at for my entire life. Someone else has learned something, but I haven't. I've learned something that this person, I know something this person doesn't know. That sense of perspective, that sense of having learned something that you can talk about with other people, is fundamental to what I'm doing here. It doesn't depend on let me say it, I'm gonna say it another way. It doesn't depend on anything other than me. I was curious, I wanted to learn, I went to China, I learned something, I came back with things, right? I kept things. I kept language, I kept parts of what I do. Everything in the martial arts that I do has a connection to the time that I spent in China and to the time before I went, as well as to all the time that I spend practicing. I'm seeing an error over here. Let me check something real quick. Apologies for the close-up here. Well, it seems we're having a little trouble. Hang on. It shows I'm okay over here. Give it a minute. It may error out again. I'm not sure. I'm gonna wait until my face goes away over here for a second. Thank you for being patient with my technical difficulties. I have, actually, I have for the new year. I have, fingers crossed, a plan that will help to take care of some of them. Maybe not all of them, but some of them. I'm going to work on the rest of them as well. That is, again, it's coming up in the new year as we're finishing out this year. And I'm waiting for this error to clear up over here. This is telling me fine. This is telling me there's still a problem. Okay, so give it a minute. I add this foundation idea that there are things that we keep. That I went out exploring. I went someplace that I had never been before. When I was growing up, I didn't think about I was going to go to China when I got older. I didn't. And I learned, so many things. I learned all sorts of things. Some of which I wanted to learn, intended to learn, some of which just happened, and some of which were just absolutely delightful, and others, I could have done without that. But that whole experience, not just part of it, is what brings me here today. And there we go. Hey, we're fixed. All right, now we're back. All right. So I'm going to repeat that just a little bit. That foundation, the idea that I started out with no knowledge. I could have, when I was growing up, if somebody had walked me into a room and shown me these paintings, I would have looked at them and said, well, yeah, they're nice. Okay. Yeah. And so, takes up a lot of space, doesn't it? Maybe. You have to have a wall to put them on. Right? That would be the extent of my knowledge. That's it. After I studied spring, summer, fall, winter, I arranged them particularly in that correct order. I could have arranged it winter, spring, summer, and fall. but that wouldn't really correspond to the directions or to the way in which creative begins. Creative begins with spring, not with the winter. Winter is sleeping. Winter is when we go to rest. Right? Fall is the harvest, summer is for growing. As we look at that tradition, it's a tradition. As we look at that tradition to say which comes first, which comes next, what are we looking at in a creative cycle? What might we be looking at in a reverse cycle? That winter, fall, summer, spring. I look at it this way, that's what I get. Which way should I look at it? I could look at both. I could arrange the paintings around the room in such an order that they match the directions. If I had a room to do it in, I could. That understanding of which order, what are we doing with these particular images? Mountains, water, always that arrangement. Mountains, water flowing down, natural order of things. That sensibility is something that we want to bring to our practice. That natural order of things, natural movement, not affected, not strained, comfortable, natural, so that things appear in good order. If I put winter, summer, fall, spring, it would be odd. It would. That understanding that in a different circumstance, a different situation. I was at a friend's house. He had a tapestry with a character in the center of the tapestry. He didn't know what it meant. He had it upside down. I said, well, it's the double happiness character and you need to turn it this way. I recognized it. I knew what it was. I'd seen it before. I was able to tell him much more about it than he knew. He was then able to go learn more. That extension is also part of what I'm doing here. If I talk about something, I mention something that gives you that spark, say, well, oh, wait, that I recognize that now, wait, and now I can go learn more. That foundation, where does it start? What do you begin with? That as you're learning, as you're practicing, what do you develop as that foundation? For me, talk about this a lot. It's basic stretch that we're going to do. One of the foundation things that we need to have, what I'm doing right now, just standing here. Feet well placed on the floor, knees bent just slightly, not a lot, it's not down here, it's just enough that they're not locked and pulled straight up. The hip is also down and relaxed, the back is open, shoulders are down and relaxed. Right now I've just got my hands stuck here, right? Pull up through the crown of the head. As the arms drop down and the fingers open, this idea of wiggle the fingers, open the hands. Open. And then stretch the fingers down. As you pull up through the back, don't straighten the knees, just pull up through the back. Pull up through the front, pull in and up through the front. pull up through the back, open the hips, hand circle to the front, back around to both sides, up along the center line, reach out, stretch out over the legs, roll up. So don't lift up, roll up. Reach out again, keep the shoulders down, keep the arms slightly curved. And fix your pant leg while you're there. One more. Reach out. Yeah. Fingertips reach up. Elbows drop down. Wrists, hands return to your sides. That foundation, I've talked about this a lot. I kept this stretch because it opens everything. It sets me up, this is mine, it sets me up so that I'm ready now to go do whatever else it is that I'm going to do. There are so many foundation sets that each system has. There are sets that cross systems. I've talked about this. There's Yang style Tai Chi, cloud hands. Wudang style Tai Chi, cloud hands, right? That sense of a Xingyi, Santi Bull, Bagua, preparation, right? Each has its own opening, its own principles, its own character. Each also has at its core your foundation. If I have not practiced standing, just standing here, being able to stand here, monitoring my own weight, monitoring my balance, checking for anything that is tense or out of place or is causing me to have to make more effort to just stand here, I need to address that. That's for me. If I can't do this, if I can't just stand here, then my posture here, when I start working cloud hands, will not be stable. If this isn't stable, this isn't going to be either. That stability doesn't come from my feet being here, my feet being here. It comes from that internal work that says, I have to open my hip more to be here in a high horse stance than I do to stand here. I have to pay more attention to holding through the center and keeping my body well suspended through the torso. So pull up from under the hip, pull up through the front, shoulders down, pull up through the center of the back. Drop the tailbone. And bend the knees. Keep going. Bend the knees some more. Keep going. Keep going. And there you go. All the way. More or less, I'm alright with this. I could maybe a little bit more, but I'd have to adjust my step just a little bit to drop down a little bit further. Okay? That thigh parallel to the floor is something we want to pay attention to. It's something we want to work for. It's part of our foundations. If we're not able to manage that, then many of the other stances that we need to have won't be there either. In, I use Bagua. In Bagua we have here. Where's my leg? Okay, this one. Alright. If if I don't have a reasonably good horse stance, when I do that turn, I'm not going to be able to hold it. I'm not going to be able to hold the position. And if I don't have the ability, I'll do it again, if I don't have the ability to move through my legs, I'm not going to be able to get back up. Right. Perfect? No. Could be better, yeah. Absolutely. Not too bad. That's the judge in a tournament saying, yeah, it's all right, it's all right. You work a little bit on the turn there. I could. That is my foundation. That as I'm moving, I'm paying attention to what I'm doing, and I'm evaluating it in real time. Is this okay? Is this not? What am I doing here? What am I doing there? How can I do this better? All right. What could I do better? I'm here. What could I do? What could I do? Just what I just did. What could I do better? I'm a little more turned here. And I've got a little bit better sense of where my spine is and how I'm holding it. So as I come around, there's a little bit more strength to it. All right? From here, split. That was good. What was different? I held my right leg more solid. As I spun around, I was straight and I dropped straight down. So the extension was here, not here. Here, here. Second one is wrong. You could budge, but it's not entirely correct. And it would appear that, with the noise in the background, there's somebody working on something. I started a little bit late this morning, so I'm gonna wrap up sooner than maybe I had planned. This idea of foundation, and go back to this. What's my foundation for being able to do that turn? What's my foundation for being able to open here in both directions? Practice. Holding on which leg, right? I got turned to the other side, right? That was not good. I was leaning forward. Right? And my weight was not placed as it should have been. That's better. Alright? What did I do? How did I do it? What was good? What was not good? What happened and why? I'm still leaning forward on the second one. Okay? My hip was not set properly, and I'm a little bit hesitant about holding all of my weight on my left side. I still have some injury stuff that I'm working with. So, right side's better. That's the difference. Knowing that. Well, I hurt my knee last week, so I'm going to be gentle on this side. You do that. That's how we keep going. That foundation that says, I'm going to keep practicing. I'm going to keep doing something. I may not be able to do this thing today. I'm going to work on some other practice. I'm going to do something else today. And tomorrow, maybe let me think about what it is I'll do tomorrow. As we develop that level of practice, we begin to retain much more easily and with a lot better muscle memory those things that we have chosen to practice. It becomes automatic, right? Xingyi. This is automatic for me. It's just there. I've worked with the movement, paid attention to the posture, paid attention to the position, paid attention to what I should be doing within the movement, and whether or not I'm doing what I know I should be doing. Do I end up in the correct position? Do I go through the correct positions? Do I do the movement in such a way that it is correct for the art that I'm doing? Xingyi. Okay, Xingyi is not soft. It's not. That's Xingyi. It's not Xingyi. We can look at this, pull down, and Yang's Tai Chi, right here. Grasp the bird's tail, ward off, roll back, press, and push. It should outwardly appear soft and comfortable to watch, elegant and well-timed. This quick movement, no, that doesn't belong. You might, not even in push hands, you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't. It wouldn't. That's just not something guy would do in any of the internal arts. I wouldn't. That knowledge, well, I'm not going to do that. Might do this. Might come back around. But, no, not. I'm exaggerating to make the point that as we develop the foundation for practice, we learn what is correct for this art, we learn what we should do, we learn what we shouldn't do, and we develop the skill to work within that art, to develop our own body movement, so that as I turn, I have that sense that there's something more. Different. Bagua and Tai Chi are not the same, right? Tai Chi, 白鹤亮翅, white crane spreads its wings. Dragon step, Xingyi. Which type of movement? Well, I can choose. I have more than one. This one belongs to Xingyi. It doesn't really belong to Tai Chi unless I'm focused on application. And then I'm still not going to do quite the same as what I'm going to do with Xingyi. I'm not. Because the nature of Tai Chi is just a little bit different. And that understanding, just like the understanding that comes with, what are these pictures up here? What does this mean? That understanding is part of what I've learned and part of what I've taught, part of what I'm continuing to teach, and completely part of my practice. When I start my practice, what am I going to practice? What am I going to practice? Today I'm going to practice Bagua. All right? Bagua. Bagua. What am I going to practice? Well, today I'm going to practice Tai Chi. What am I going to practice? Xingyi. Subtle differences. My hands, Tai Chi, Bagua, Xingyi. Hand position, Tai Chi, Bagua, Xingyi. That distinction, the way I hold my body, the way that I hold my hands, the way that I pay attention to which movement, what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, and the particulars for each posture. For me, that's all fundamental. It needs to be there. Tai Chi shouldn't look like Bagua. Bagua shouldn't look like Xingyi. Xingyi shouldn't look like mush. The Tai Chi Xingyi Bagua form, no, please don't. Just don't. Just don't. I have a sense, this is my own philosophy, my own personal approach. I have a sense of trying to keep to the tradition of the particular art. So in ballet, there is a particular tradition. It comes from the French, it comes from the Russian. There are different methods, there are different schools of practice. There are different artists that have come up through the years, and we pay attention to their contributions to the art. In Tai Chi, the methods, the development of the art, the way in which we practice, the ways in which we practice, because, right, there are different schools, there are different masters, there are different ways that we can practice Tai Chi. It's not really any different, right? How do we practice? Xingyi and Bagua are the same. How do we practice Xingyi? How do we practice Bagua? It's not the same as what we do in Tai Chi. And what we do in Tai Chi isn't necessarily the same in every school. It's not identical. Now, if you're practicing Yang style Tai Chi, there are certain things I'm going to expect to see. Really, I am. If you're practicing Wudang style Tai Chi, there are certain things I'm going to expect to see. The same if you're practicing Chen style, Wu style, Wu Hao, or any of the variations. I know quite a few of them, actually. So, my expectation, if you're practicing Yang style Tai Chi, I don't want to see something from the Hungar, which is a different system entirely. Tai Chi shouldn't be Hungar. Shouldn't be praying mantis little sprinkles either. That sense of, well, this is Tai Chi, this is something else, this is Xingyi, should be present in whatever system it is. So Xingyi, fundamental is the 5 elements and the 12 animals, right? Bagua, the 8 directions. So the walk the circle, and you got the 8 trigrams, 8 positions that you're going to do palm changes. There's additional practice as well, but that foundation of walking the circle in Bagua, in Xingyi, the 5 elements, in Tai Chi, looking for the 5 elements plus the 8 directions so that we have the 13 postures. All of that fits together in each system, and each one has its own character, its own special flavor. I want to preserve that. I don't want to muddle that. And when I was teaching group class, I would insist that students pick one. You can study everything, but you need to pick one. Start with that. You can try one and, I don't like that, okay, you can do that. But pick one. Learn that. Get comfortable with that. Understand what you should be doing in that art first. When you're comfortable, I'll be able to see it. I will. And then you start something else. Always keep them distinct. That way you always know what you're doing. This is what? This is Bagua. This Tai Chi, right? This could be a little bit higher. Shoulder height, yeah. Alright, that Chingy. That sense of, I know what I'm doing, I know what I want to do with it, I know what I'm going to try to do. Did I achieve it? Yeah, kinda. Sorta. My left John is not nearly as good as my right. I'm right-handed, so left hand never does the same thing as the right. I have other skills on this side. That recognition is also fundamental to understanding what you can do. I can do certain things. I talked about this before, and I'm going to wrap this up. I've talked about this before with the idea that when I was learning Bagua, one of the movements in Bagua is a shoulder throw. I'm never going to be able to do a shoulder throw. It's just not going to happen. Particularly, it's just really not going to happen. But I can do a hip, right? I can come around and throw somebody over my hip. Throwing somebody over my shoulder this way is not something I'm going to do. It probably not. Okay? But that hip throw and a twist, I can do that. So we worked on that. I said, well, I'm probably not going to do this, but I could do this. Understanding, I'm never going to do a straight up spinning jump kick and do a double thing and come back down. It's never going to happen. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to work for it. The shoulder throw is something that would be a problem for me physically. Even if I work at it, I'm never going to be good at it. The jump up in the air, spin, and come back down, jump, fly, weapon. Yeah, I might be able to do that. Probably never going to happen because I'm not going to work for it. I did work at it at one point. I was going to try for it at one point. But I've never been all that good with jumps. I can do a straight jump, so forward, but those spinning jumps, not good. So, a skill that I needed to have learned many, many, many years ago, and then I'd still be able to do it. That understanding too. So, if you're in your 20s and you're watching this and you're looking at a little bit more athletic stuff, go do it now. Go do it now. And later you'll have it. If you don't, as you get older, being able to acquire more physical movement becomes more difficult. It's not impossible. It's not impossible. Okay? Part of it is deciding that you want to. That is at the foundation of everything, that decision. I know about this, I've looked at that, been working on this, and I make the decision, this is what I'm going to do next. Doesn't have to be forever, just what am I going to do next? Everything else builds on top of that. That foundation, what am I going to do next? Making that decision, deciding I want to do this, I'm not going to work for this spinning jump kick. I am going to work on developing my horse stance and on further developing my low work so that I can do some of the low work that I used to be able to do. I can still do most of, not all, most of the upper leg work that I could do. There's a set in Yang style. Here. Alright, I'm leaning. Alright, I'm doing this here. Alright, as I come up here, this leg comes up and extends, just circle around, come in, and extend outward. That full circle, I used to be able to do that just above my hip. I would like my leg to go back there. I would. Balance, placement, strength through the center, strength holding through the hip, and the same development that it takes to go up and down is part of what it takes to bring that leg up. Can I work on that? Yeah. Do I want to? Yeah, I do. At spinning jump kick? Could I? Yeah. Do I want to? Not really. That decision takes me to the next thing that I'm going to do. As you develop your practice, say, well, okay, yeah, I do want to work on that. I don't want to work on this. I'm going to develop this. I'm going to pay attention to that. Whatever that decision is, whatever decision you make, that provides the foundation for what you're going to do next. So you have a good foundation standing here, then bend your knees, pretty easy, right? From here, open, and you should be in a good foundation. It's beginning for Yang style, right? From here, open, it's beginning for Wudang style. Right? Here, wah wah. Shini. I didn't complete the arms on there, I just completed the feet. Should be here. That opening, no, right here. What am I going to do now? Right? Where's my foundation? It's right here. And it's here. And it's here. That placement being well-centered and well-balanced, having energy through the whole body, and being able to maintain your center at whatever level you're on as you move. Fundamental to any art that we practice. The more we pay attention to that center, pay attention to that centering, the easier it is to move it and to pay attention to how it moves, how that center moves over here. over here, over here. That center, this idea that my center's not out here, or my center's back here. Could be out here, could. That is something that we do with push hands in Tai Chi. That moving the center so that the opponent can't find it. It's something that's done in wrestling as well. As we develop the physical skill to connect with that internal work and to move more through intent than through whatever the physical movement is. So my physical movement is put my feet together, put my hands here, stand straight. Now I'm going to open my foot, Yang style. I have to know that my intent is to do Yang style. My intent, the second down, it wasn't Yang styling, what was it? Understanding how we move, what the movement is, the kind of movement, how we do the movement, how we actually move the body parts to do the movement. Is it slow? Is it fast? Has it got this level of strength? Has it got that level of strength? Has it got this level of energy? Has it got that level of energy? How we do the movement is the foundation. The movement itself gives us an idea of what the shape of the movement should be. It lets us understand the kind of thing we could be doing. And then we need to apply all of that background knowledge so that the movement we're doing is complete, well-formed, well-placed, well-balanced, and full, with the idea behind that there's something more. There's always an application. It has to be overt, but it needs to be present. That there could be something more. That opportunity is part of what we want to cultivate. Not that it has to be, it could be. That's what we want to develop. It could be this, it could be that, it depends. What's the circumstance? What do I need to do? Being able to do what I need to do is why we practice. That's why we develop the skills. That's why we develop the flexibility. If I need that flexibility, I have it. If I don't need it, well, I need to use it, right? All right, I'm going to stop for today. These concepts aren't always just laid out in the textbook, and they're not always presented with the art that we're learning. They show up at the coffee table, and the dinner table, and the breakfast table, and the conversations that we have about what we're doing. So, conversation about what we're doing. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. I will be back tomorrow. Foundations on Wednesday as well. Thursday and Friday, why don't you come? I appreciate all of you. Thank you.